For a reason I didn't vote for him. So something has just happened this week. There was a story that was broken on the mudflats.net by Jeannie Devon, who has broken lots of stories and is a brilliant writer, and people send her information. She got an envelope from somebody, followed down the rabbit hole, and caught the rabbit. And today the AP decided it was a good enough story that they put it out and did not credit her. Said it is, and the story is basically that Sarah Palin and Todd Palin have these properties out 11 miles off the road, and they've been just turning their taxes back in, allowing it to say zero for what the buildings are worth. Well, that's just simply not the case. There's 3 structures at least on there. And so they've been really fudging it and not really taking care of it. So she'd found some old nuggets of Vic Coring not getting Sarah's endorsement because he hadn't paid his property taxes, and she couldn't abide by that because that's not patriotic, you betcha. And so there was all this hypocrisy in there too, but she just lined it all up. And she had the documents there. She got a picture of one of the houses or the cabins that's nicer than most people's houses. And so she put this up. We broke it on the air on KUDO on the radio show yesterday. AP puts it out and they say, it has come to the attention of the local tax assessors. My aching ass, it came to the attention of everybody because she wrote it down on a blog, but there's no credit given because why?
Because it's on the internet. Because it's on the internet, and
you're on the internet. You're on the internet.
Exactly. We deal with this at Alaska Dispatch. We're not printed on paper, and to some people, that makes us a less legitimate news outlet than, say, like the Fairbanks Daily News Miner. Never mind that that Rena used to work for the Fairbanks Daily News Miner, who covers politics and energy for us. That Jill Burke won an Edward R. Murrow Award last year and an SPJ Award, that we have really great, talented journalists.
Or you both worked for ADN. Just because it won't end up on the bathroom floor tomorrow, it's not legitimate.
No, it's because it's all really being sorted out and because the standards are very shifting and it's not, I mean, there was a certain set of rules when everybody was working for a newspaper or a television station, and everybody kind of abided by those rules. Now the rules are vague. They're all over the place. I mean, some blogs are really accurate, double check everything. Some people put it out there, on a whim.
I just want to point out how Craig gets really aggro when he's talking about the corporate, but you talk about stuff that impacts old people, and he's like, well, we really have to look at this from another angle, which is that, the times they are changing.
The times are changing, and it will sort itself out. But we're going through one of those periods when it's
if you have someone that puts out a story, that's enough that the AP picks it up. And I will say this, we're filming this on Thursday, and I checked before I left the house. It's up at The Guardian in the UK. It's up at the LA Times. And when I left the house, it wasn't yet on the ADN. This AP
which
story.
doesn't surprise me because I was there when stories were put up that were attributed to mudflats, and then there were big internal debates about who is mudflats and should we put something up that people don't know who mudflats is. Then Jeannie was outed. Then it was like, oh, does she want to be out? Does she want to be in? Blah, blah, blah.
Fortunately, Jeannie's not in it for the recognition.
There was this issue of, how do we source this?
How does that change the facts of what the story is?
Because sometimes the facts only come from the person who has them. I mean, they're not always, it's not always that black and white. It's not always like there's something there you can go out and easily check. And there were a number of things put up saying, so-and-so reports this, but we can't confirm this. And then it became a convenient thing to take things you knew and go, okay, we know this, but we can't confirm this with our own sources. Right. Let's go say so-and-so reported it to get it out there. It's a very changing and shifting battlefield.
And because things are going so much faster, you don't have to wait till tomorrow morning to find out how it's going.
And you don't want to wait till tomorrow morning.
And there still is a little bit of a stigma about the word blogger. People who are still new to the whole blogging phenomenon or listening to the blogging phenomenon still have a little bit of the it's somebody in the basement eating Cheetos making
And there are some of those.
Right. And there are some of those. But I think that the reason that this thing with Jeannie's story is so egregious is that it wasn't that she heard a rumor and then she called this guy and she says that this guy told her. She had pictures and she had facts and she had it well sourced. It was an investigative journalism piece. And the fact that they would then almost, I don't want to say plagiarize, but plagiarize the idea that they were the ones who found it. It came to the attention of the tax assessor, then implies that, and then we found the tax assessor, not, and then Jeannie put it all together in a neat package, and this is her story.
To the point that the tax assessor actually flew over it to check out the property today.
Which brings us back to money. Because the Associated Press makes its money by all the cooperative newspapers, radio stations, TVs that buy into it. there's, what, in their mind, in the eyes of the AP, and I can't speak for them as a company, but I know how their minds work because I know a lot of them. They're thinking, why should we promote someone who doesn't, who's not a source of income to us?
Because you wouldn't have the story
I
otherwise.
know that, but they don't live on that high level. Come on. This is a business. They're living on a business level. It's like, okay, our members aren't going to get anything out of promoting that blog or that website. We got another source here that we can use. Let's use the other source. It's happened in the news business. I mean, way back. I've had stories ripped off by every major newspaper in the country, and never even a hint of where they came from.
Well, it's good you're not bitter.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's a waste of time to get bitter in this business. You want to get even, not bitter.
Well, I think that's part of the thing, though. There's been so many stories, and people, you're right, blogger is the new R word.
Well, people don't know what it means.
Like, should we start being offended if someone calls you F-bomb blogger?
People
B-word.
People at the Daily News website who comment on stories and then refer to themselves as bloggers and refer to other people as bloggers, and which makes my head want to explode. You're not blogging. You're talking. I can't swear, it's TV, right? You're talking nonsense in an insulting manner about something that someone else researched and wrote. That doesn't make you a blogger. That makes you a person with opinions. That makes you human with an internet connection. And people, I think this term, people think any website is a blog. They think anyone who writes anything on the internet is a blogger. And it kind of dilutes the whole, the role of people like Jeannie, who are going out there and researching things and writing them up in an entertaining way and sharing them with the world.
When you look at how many stories have been broken on Alaskan politics on blogs, Andrew Howcrow, Troopergate, I mean, it just goes, the rape kits out of Wasilla, all of the things that came out about Palin during the election, Reverend Muthi, all these sorts of things that people were digging up, researching. I don't know very many bloggers that I haven't had to retract a story. I know Jeannie Devin hasn't retracted a story. You dot your I's and cross your T's and get it out there. And I think this about Jeannie Devin's website, if she was running it off on a machine every night with that paper that made your fingers blue, people would be lined up to get it in the morning because it's that good. And the fact that the AP hasn't put credit where credit is due, they need to be called on.
Well, they did run them off on machines once, and that's kind of how the whole press thing started in this country, and we're kind of in many ways back there. And if you're familiar with the history, it was a very opinionated, there was a left press, there was a right press, and I think that's kind of where we're going to end up again, that everybody can get in the game, and we're going to have a lot of diverse views, and it's going to be crazy for a while. But it may be a good crazy.
And a lot of them were anonymous, by the way.
A lot of them were anonymous.
Tell your friend Mike Dugan about that.
Yeah, but
all right.
Those people were worried about getting hung.
Those people were worried about getting hung, and these people, and I can tell you, Sarah Palin's supporters, if they could get away with it, they'd have done it. Believe me, they made promises all about it.
But I live up the
emails.
street from Jeannie, and I have a gun, and they have to get by me first.
Well, hey, she'll be really relieved to know that. Right? We'll be right back. We're going to run to a break, and we'll be back with your questions.